Howdy folks, Tex Grebner here with Tex Grebner Outdoors. Hope you guys are ready for your Tex Grebner Outdoors Saturday morning cartoon awesomeness. The moment that you've all been waiting for, and I really appreciate your patience. Did I break the whitetail curse? It is time for Illinois Archery season 2021. Now I will be honest with you, right now I'm a little bit weird, like weirder than usual, because at the same time I have two things going on in my life. I'm dealing with cancer in my family, and I'm not going to get any more specific than that because you can't be vulnerable on the internet without somebody basically abusing it. But my life is also pretty decent right now aside from that, where I'm making a decent amount of money beyond simply ranch wages. The downside of that is winter sucks, and I don't have the daylight to go do fun stuff, nor do I get to hunt as much as I want. So, I really appreciate your patience. I will never quit YouTube because that means that the internet won. I may be away for a while, but I'm here to stay as long as my channel is still around. So I hope you guys are going to enjoy this week's episode of Tex Grebner Outdoors because it's time for the high-stakes game of whack-a-mole, the slow descent into madness, Illinois Archery Season 2021. Now, if you guys want a discount on all your trad life supplies at Three Rivers Archery on orders over $100 and to show your support for Tex Grebner Outdoors, use the code Tex Grebner in your checkout at Three Rivers Archery, especially because bow fishing time is going to be coming up here pretty soon. Now, if you're looking for some high-quality hunting ammunition between 30-06 all the way up to 505 Gibbs, or you're looking to take a 12 gauge and make it be able to kill a rhino, check out my friends over at Aria Ballistic Engineering. They also do some pretty badass custom gunsmithing. Now, if you're looking to armor the front of your arrows, use the code TGO10 at Ethics Archery. It'll give you a 10% discount on your checkout at ethicsarchery.com. So who's ready for Illinois Archery Season 2021? When you start out on a YouTube journey, you start out overjoyed with creativity. You start out loving what you do, and overjoyed to be able to share your thoughts, feelings, and visions. And there's a lot of things that you don't care about. Like, you don't care about bad lighting. You don't care about sound quality, where you're filming in a room that echoes and reverberates really bad. You don't care about that. You don't care about low definition video. All that you care about is that you're doing something where you can share your passion with people that are part of a greater community, just like painting on a cave wall thousands of years ago. You don't care about any of the finer polish, but it is very easy, and I'm guilty of this, as your YouTube career progresses, to want to keep up with the Joneses, to become frustrated with the lack of attention or the negativity that you actually attract. And you want things to be perfect. You want things to be polished. You want things to be professional. And that's a trap that I seem to fall into quite a bit, where I haven't given up making videos, but I'm very passionate about what I do. And I want things to be polished and professional and as perfect as I can possibly make them. So I tend to be slightly paralyzed by perfectionism, where I have to have things right in order to make a video or produce a film for you guys. Especially because if it's not right, I'm going to hear about it from multiple people. Perfection is difficult, especially in this dirty, chaotic reality that we live in. We either have the time to do what we want or the money to do it with, but we never have both. And I have taken another job in addition to my responsibilities with my family's ranch, which severely impacted my ability to be in the woods as much as I wanted. And it sucked. The upside is
I'm making more capital gains to the point where hopefully I will be able to bring you guys some epic adventures as I am more easily able to save up the money in order to do some really, really cool stuff eventually, if you're patient. Because let's face it, nobody buys my t-shirts. That just isn't cutting it. But if you have bought a t-shirt, I'm very appreciative. Life ain't like the pornos, and hunting ain't like the TV shows. I live in reality just like you, and I bring you the reality of Illinois archery season. And I hope that you guys are going to enjoy this hunting story because it's the best that I can do with what I have, the same way that you do the best that you can with what you've got. If you're not familiar with the rules of Illinois archery season, I am not allowed to bait. I am not allowed to use mineral. I basically have to figure out where the deer are going to be traveling, set up an ambush alongside them, be there before they are there, and be there while they don't know that I am there, and then get a shot off after positioning cameras. The problem is deer are wild and free, majestic creatures that do whatever they want to do. And I can do so very little to affect what they want to do. And you might be saying, why don't you use food plots? The whole damn county is a food plot. This is the Corn Belt, for God's sake. It doesn't work how you might think that it works. And when you don't have enough time to be in the right place at those right times, it really complicates things. Now, every day of hunting is exactly the same, but every day of hunting is just a little bit different. When we aren't hunting, we are thinking about hunting. But yet, when we are hunting, by God, there is so much excitement when you're walking into your stand. And then you get climbed up in your stand and you've probably kicked 5 or 6 deer out ahead of you because you're hunting in margin habitat because all the trees were cleared off a property and the only place that there's trees to set up in is on the edges of creeks or on the fence rows, so you've got to cross massive stretches of open ground. You get up in your stand and you were so excited and you sit there for 5 minutes and you get to thinking, why did I want to do this again? I'm not going to see jack crap today. I kicked them all out on the way in. This is going to be comical, but if I had to break the season into parts, you will understand this if you've ever experienced it, and you'll know that I'm telling the truth. Early season is nice and warm and green and lush and verdant with too many mosquitoes to be able to enjoy it. Mid-season, after like Halloween, it's 33 and raining until it finally freezes. Perfect hypothermia weather. And then after Thanksgiving, it's no more mosquitoes, but too cold to really enjoy it. Those are the 3 stages. Also, you would refer to them as early season, pre-rut, rut, post-rut, late season. But my version is funnier. Just like how every day of hunting has different stages of excitement, normally ending in depression and failure, every season has different stages like that. Reality is dirty and it's chaos and unpredictable, and you cannot count on things going your way. You can count on things going exactly different than what you want them to, with the occasional chance of the gambler's ruin, where you are able to be in the right place at the right time and win the high-stakes game of whack-a-mole. But it doesn't matter how good a shot you are, how expensive your broadhead is, hell, how sharp your broadhead is. how straight your arrow is, if nothing shows up. And granted, none of that all matters either if you miss. Now, I said reality is dirty and chaotic and unpredictable. You can be a really good shot. I'm a really good shot on foam. But people tend to overestimate their ability to function in a real life situation that is super out of their control. I am not a very successful person, either in hunting or in my everyday life. There's a lot of things that I'm ashamed of. There's a lot of mistakes that I have made. There are a lot of things that I wish that I could take back. I'm not very successful. I'm not particularly smart. However, I do have tenacity. And in spite of my flaws and failures and problems, tenacity is one of my redeeming qualities. But I also have an understanding of reality. And I understand the reality of failure. And this is going to be a bit of a hot take. Just as I said how it doesn't matter how expensive or sharp your broadhead is if you miss. Here's something that is true. You should practice with a fighting grip on your bow. Grip the bow every time the way that you're going to grip it with a live animal in front of you. Because to pretend that impact bracing does not exist, that you're going to overcome your instincts, to actually grip the bow in a situation where life and death hang in the balance is foolish. But if you start out with a fighting grip on your bow, where you have positive control over it, you're not going to double clutch your shots. You will have to tune around the torque that you're putting into the bow, but you're going to have positive control of it, and that's going to give you confidence. It doesn't matter how good you can shoot foam. Everything you think you know, if you have a live animal in front of you, is going to go away. It's going to. Something that I love about more primitive styles of hunting, like traditional bow hunting and spear hunting, is that it's very intimate. It's very connected. Now, everything about crossbows and compound bows is about trying to divorce yourself from what you're doing and minimize human error. Traditional bow hunting and spear hunting, not so much. It's a persistent commitment to the acceptance of failure. That's what it is. But you have to be so close. And sometimes things work out. Other times, you're almost in the right place at the right time, but the wrong way. The only thing that's more frustrating than being in one stand and watching deer move by another stand is having your tree stand facing the wrong direction that a deer is coming in. And the slow descent into madness has begun. On the wrong side of Halloween, the weather basically changes. Well, in the early season, you can get away with a t-shirt and a vest. In most cases. But you get on the wrong side of Halloween and it starts getting cold. And guess what? You're going to start layering up. The problem is, if you don't have a draw length and a draw style that is conducive to wearing about 3 layers plus a safety harness and shooting on an angle down out of a tree stand, you're going to be in for a surprise. People fetishize form in archery. Guess what? Anything works flat-footed in a t-shirt on an indoor range. Target style works great there. Where it doesn't work great is when you've got 4 inches worth of extra clothing on and you're trying to do this fancy 29-inch target draw. Just how you need to learn how to shoot gripping your bow with positive control, you need a draw cycle that is conducive to actually functioning. Your form needs to be the liquid that is fluid to fit into the container of reality, the circumstances that you find yourself in. So if you draw 26 inches in January, just draw 26 inches all the time. Now, of course, Thanksgiving. Frustration has started to set in. I want to be doing this, but I also feel so futile and so helpless in the face of the elements and the whims of the hunt. Early season is always a brand new beginning, but you get on the wrong side of Thanksgiving. You started out the season thinking, I'm going to go out, I'm going to sit in my stand, I'm going to be real quiet and still and play the wind, and rut's going to roll around, and I'm going to get a 160-inch 10-pointer. Yeah. Well, you get on the wrong side of Thanksgiving, and you're just hoping that the dumbest, lostest yearling that's looking for its mother wanders past your stand after it got weaned. But there's nothing that says you can't get lucky. Skill is good, but luck will work if it only has to work once. And so the leaves are falling off the trees, and something that a lot of people don't really understand about midwestern whitetail hunting, if they live in more tropical climates, is that there's nothing worse than having deer on the wrong side of the creek. Because the creek is lava, okay? There's nothing colder than a pair of hip waders sitting in a deer stand, and there's nothing louder walking in than a pair of hip waders in a deer stand. So if you got to cross a creek, that might as well be somewhere else, because you're not going over there, because unless it's an emergency, you're not going to cross the creek and get wet. Oh yeah, you can take off your boots on one side, take off your pants, and cross the creek pioneer style and re-get dressed. But are you really going to do that for a stand that's 50 yards on the other side of the creek? Nope. You get after Thanksgiving, the creek is lava. Of course, as they are wont to do, that's where the deer is going to be, is on the wrong side of the creek, because it's a high-stakes game of whack-a-mole, and the slow descent into madness goes on. And you're just hoping that there's going to be one horny buck that's still out looking for does. Of course, sometimes you've got, 30 pounds worth of camera gear and clothes on by the time that you're done, and you walk in because you're trying to make it to your stand on a day that you can actually get out hunting, and you bump one up. And then all of a sudden, you realize, shit, that was probably at least a 140-inch deer that I wasn't ready for. But instead of going home, you climb up in your stand like I did and try and make the best of the rest of the day. Just madder than hell. We feel like we have to sit in tree stands because still hunting, while great, we tend not to do it because if we're trying to stalk, we're worried about bumping deer off the property. I honestly prefer it, but it is super difficult to still hunt when you've got potato chip crunchy leaves on the ground. The rut, basically over with and done with. All the crops are out, The deer are shot to shit from the gun seasons, plus all of bow season up to this point. Now there is nothing dumber than a rutted up turned on male. However, there is nothing smarter than a 3-4-year-old doe that survived bow seasons, gun seasons, coyotes, winter elements, and possibly mountain lions that the DNR denies the existence of. Like, you aren't fooling a doe. But here I am, embracing the madness, just hoping for a Christmas miracle. You don't hunt late season. You don't get on the wrong side of Christmas and still go out because you think you're going to get something. You're going out because you'd hate yourself if you didn't, because the season only lasts so long. But you do go out and you keep replaying your mistakes. You keep thinking about all the shit you did wrong and plotting and scheming for next year. You ain't going out with the expectation of getting anything. You're going out because you have to, because you're a hunter. You go out on the wrong side of Christmas for the bragging rights. Nobody hunts late season thinking they're going to get something. You go out in late season to be able to say, yep, you ever hunted in January? Because when the mercury is in the toilet, you are just praying that sun down because you're so darn tired of being cold and tired. January weather is bleak and savage, and the woods are bleak and savage. The elements don't care. They're going to do what they're going to do, and the deer don't care. They're going to do what they're going to do according to what the elements tell them. A whole year worth of plotting, hoping, and scheming, and praying to whatever gods will listen, and yet here we are in January, plotting and hoping and scheming for next year. Because early season is always a brand new beginning. But the season's not over yet. Sitting, watching, waiting, and listening, and wondering, is this going to be the year that I break my whitetail curse? Because time is a very precious commodity. We spend time to make money, but we don't have the time to do what we want as much as we want because we're busy making money. Now, it's a flawed statistic that the caveman only lived to be maybe 35. And that's a flawed statistic because infant mortality skews the age of death in the figures. But when you really think about it, our ancestors, who knows, maybe they did only live to be 35. They got to hunt and fish and trap and lead a decent existence, and they never once paid taxes. So if you could do everything that you wanted to do with your life and be fulfilled by the time that you got 35, I figure that ain't a bad life. Because there's two things in life that's sure, death and taxes. Here I am, riding her into the ground, the last minutes of the last day of this current deer season. Whitetail curse is still intact. Wile E. Coyote, still my spirit animal. And yet, I still haven't quit. I'm still chasing my dreams.
Well, here we are at the end of another Illinois archery season. The whitetail curse still intact. Very uncertain times, but when the wars of man have burnt the earth, coyote will dance on the ashes. So if we're here for next archery season, there will be an Illinois archery season. You can take that to the bank. And maybe next year it will be the year that I break the whitetail curse. I really appreciate all of you that have watched this video, and I appreciate all of you that have tried to reach out to me since I haven't been posting, even if I am super bad at interacting with people online because of some cyber social anxiety that is at a crippling level. Like, I swear, you should see my Tex Grebner Outdoors email. It's basically nothing but a thirst trap for identity fraud and just information theft. So I'm really bad at interacting with people, and hopefully there will be a pretty cool spring when I'm able to actually get out and do adventures, and I admit I hope to be able to fund some spear hunts with this new job. As always, God bless all my sportsmen of America. Join the NRA to protect our rights. Please check out my friends over at threeriversarchery.com. Thank you very much, those of you involved in law enforcement, you good cops out there, and those of you serving in the military ready to die for freedom anywhere. And thanks for watching Tex Grebner Outdoors.